Starliner Media. Starliner Media presents Music Night at the Majestic with your host, Michael Boswell.
All right, time once again for Music Night at the Majestic, and with us tonight, Mark Farner. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. Good to be here with you, brother.
Hey, it's good to talk to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be talked to. It's good to be anything these days.
Exactly. Well, I tell you, what is it? You're a Michigan guy.
Oh, yeah.
What is it about Michigan that has produced so much music?
Well, I have my own theory on this, brother, and I think that the biggest part of it is we had all the auto factories. The big three was here. You know, when I was a teenager, my stepdad worked at the Stamp and Frame in Flint, Michigan, and he was a millwright, and they made the trucks, the Suburbans, you know, the heavier stuff out there. And Buick, we had Buick, and we had Turnstead, and we had AC, Delco, Chevy down on, in Flint, Michigan, we had two cars in every driveway, a boat, all kinds of stuff. People didn't lack for anything. And when they weren't working, they were on the lakes in the summertime having fun. But all these people moved here, Brother Michael, from a lot of southern states. My mother came here when she was 16 years old from Leachville, Arkansas, and the whole family came with her. I mean, my grandpa, my uncles, and my aunts, and everybody came because once somebody got a job up here in Flint, everybody wanted some of that money. So they moved up. And I believe that is the biggest influence on the music coming out of Michigan, because it's a good cross of North and South. When we would have a jam session every Sunday at my mother's house or my Aunt Dorothy's house, my grandpa would show up with the fiddle and Uncle Woody with the guitar, and my dad blew saxophone, played guitar, and all the women sang like angels. And they did these old, Southern hymnal songs and Southern standards, kind of bluegrassage, but great for a little tiny kid, man. I was like looking up at these great big people and listening to that music come out of them. And some of that crossed up, the North and the South crossed up because there wasn't the racial discrimination up here that there was in the South. And I believe that when Motown music came out, when they were putting out all that music, brother, I was dancing to that stuff. I would go to these dances with my sister Diane. We'd enter the dance contest, and we won a lot of them. But it was a good time. They were singing about a good time. There was always some kind of love song or some kind of, let's go dance, the Loco-Motion or the twist and shout. It was a good time. And I think that is all due to the personnel that got together, and the Southern and Northern brains and hearts put some music out there that is, it's historical.
Well, the thing that always struck me is the variety of music. When you Motown, as you mentioned, obviously, then you've also got the MC5.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got Seeger and the Rock and Roll and the Romantics. Then you've got, Anita Baker, Frida Payne, Del Shannon, then later the Verve Pipe and stuff. So I mean, it's just always amazed me how the diversity of the music even went on beyond the diversity of the people themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And that's part of that. The diversity was part of getting to know all these people, and that melding was going on. You know, the personalities were mixing, and some great music came out of here.
Absolutely. So for you, obviously, you're growing up in a musical family.
Yep.
The first instrument you gravitated to?
Guitar. The guitar. I liked, you know, my uncle played the banjo. My granddad played the fiddle. And Uncle Brian and Uncle Woody would play the guitars. My dad played guitar too, but he blew saxophone. And I liked what you could do rhythmically. I liked what would happen with that guitar rhythmically. And I'm really into the rhythm of, you know, the music. I'm more of a rhythm player than I am a lead player. I kind of had to force myself to become a lead player. But the guitar, I was drawn to it. For sure.
Yeah. Now tell me this. Who were some of the players who influenced you the most as you were in that early learning stage?
Dick Wagner from, you know, Alice Cooper's band. Dick Wagner had local bands here, the Bossman, Dick Wagner, and the Frost, and Ursa Majors. He was a monster on the guitar. Showed me a lot of stuff. Rick Derringer, I loved me some Rick Derringer, and Jeff Beck, man. Out of all the English guys, Jeff Beck was the dude. And I really liked Clapton on Fresh Cream, but after Fresh Cream, he went away from that style and he went away from the sound that he had on Fresh Cream and lost me and a whole bunch of other people. Yeah. But, you know, my major guy was Jimi Hendrix. He was my major influence rock and roll wise. He was my guy.
Yeah. Tell me this, who is a player that you've either stumbled on or been introduced to over the last few years that really wows you?
Man, there are so many. Oh my God.
Okay, how about a few of them?
Okay, yeah. Mark Slaughter. Mark Slaughter's a monster guitar player. He is overlooked as far as guitarist, man. That guy can shred and make it sound lovely while he's tearing your head off. I like that about him. And oh God, who else? John Spicer. Heck of a guitar player, man. Wow. And singer, John Spicer. I don't know. I don't listen to the radio at all. And so I don't get too much new music unless one of my sons says, "Hey, Dad, check this out."
Yeah.
I do not intentionally go looking for anything. I'll catch something, you know, go in to pay for the gas at a gas station using the cash, you know, and whatever that song is that's playing in there, that thing's on my mind the rest of the day into the next day sometimes, because I never turn on the radio in the car. I never do, man. I haven't for probably 40 years, 50 years.
Yeah. Now tell me this, who would be a player that people may not expect you to really be a fan of? Style maybe they don't associate, you know, with you.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of this guy. I met him in LA at the Guitar Center, and he is Joe Bonamassa.
Okay.
He is a humble guy, and he can play up a storm on a calm day. I'm telling you, very, you know, exciting and inciting. He could incite some rock and roll.
Yeah. Well, to digress here, so you pick it up, when do you form your first band?
Had to be right. I was 15 years old when I started playing guitar. That's when I started getting the lessons. I took 3 out of the 6 lessons my mother got me for my birthday. And the guitar teacher shot himself in the foot with a 12 gauge. It was pheasant season in Michigan, and he had an accident. So I went on and learned and watched the guys in the high school band, this rock and roll band, that they were just doing cover stuff. And the first actual band I got into that I was a part of was the Geneseans. We lived in Genesee County. Then it was Mojo and the Nightwalkers. Then it was the Derelicts, brother. Robin's Hoods. Oh, we had them going on. Yeah.
And then, obviously you formed Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah.
How did you end up forming the band?
Well, the band that I was in previously broke up because 2 of the guys were married, and we were stranded out on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and for we were out there a couple of weeks, and their wives were threatening to divorce them, and they had to quit the band, and the band broke up when we got home, and Brewer and I were we were pissed, man. We said, we can't let these women break our band up. And I said, you know something, Brewer, we need to start a 3-piece band. Why don't we do a 3-piece? And whoever we get, they can't be married. They can't even have a girlfriend.
No social life for you.
That's right. So we went to Delta Promotions in Bay City when we got back from the East Coast, and we wanted to find out what happened out there because they told us we were going and playing for free, and we found out there were actual dollars paid for the shows that we played, and we wanted to know about that. So we're sitting in the waiting room, waiting our turn to get in to see the big cheese at Delta Promotions, and part of their facility was a rehearsal studio, and there was somebody in there rehearsing, and the bass player was tearing it up. And I looked over at Brewer. I said, man, are you listening to that bass player in there? He said, oh yeah, I'm listening. I said, we got to see who the heck that is. So when they take their break, Mel Shocker was playing bass with Question Mark and the Mysterians, and he comes walking out. I go, Melvin, because I went to school with Melvin. We jammed together, rode dirt bikes together, smoked pot together. We did it all. And I said, we're going to start a 3-piece group, and I don't know where you're at with this band. I said, but we sure would like to have you try out with us down in Flint. And he says, man, I am so ready to leave. You can't even believe how the timing is. This is great timing. I'm ready. Count me in. So we started rehearsing at the Flint Federation of Musicians in Flint, Michigan on Averill Street there the next week. And the band was formed. Grand Funk was formed. We didn't know it was Grand Funk yet until Terry Knight came in from New York City. He had a song that he had written titled Grand Funk Railroad. He says, why don't you guys name the band the name of my song? We said, yeah, that sounds cool to us. And so that's how Grand Funk got started.
Yeah. Well, the Atlanta Pop Festival in '69.
Yeah.
That's kind of a crucial point in the career. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a crucial point because, the amount of people, it was an ocean of people. And this 3-piece band from Flint, Michigan, this garage band got up on that stage in front of all them folks. I was so nervous. Oh my God. And we didn't know that there was that many people until we got up and had the vantage point of being above the crowd and like looking out going, oh man, are you kidding me? And I turned around to the guitar tech and I went, "Oh man, I really got to pee." He says, "Get your ass out there. You got to entertain these people." And so, yeah, we hit the downbeat and we played the first album. We played our music from the album On Time, Grand Funk Railroad, On Time. And the audience ate it up. We ended our set with Land of a Thousand Dances, done Wilson Pickett style. And during that performance, I took my guitar off and just dancing around, going crazy. You know, the audience was loving it. And this $50 shirt that I had, I mean, $50 back then, Michael, that was a lot of money, you know, in 1969. That's like a $150 shirt today. So I had this paisley print, see-through, and it was sticking to me. It was made out of some kind of material. It wasn't cotton. It had me almost like a straitjacket. And I said, I ripped that shirt off. And the audience jumped to their feet. And I'm going, well, that worked. That worked. And so that was kind of my moniker from then on out, man. I would come out with a vest, maybe something that was easy to get off. And then I'd take it off. By the second song, man, I was bare-chested with an armband, and people loved it.
You know, it's amazing how many times an inadvertent situation wasn't planned. You know, you with the shirt, Roy Orbison with the sunglasses.
Yeah.
It always amazes me how something that wasn't planned just happens and it sticks and it becomes an iconic thing.
Right on. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Now when you guys were recording a couple albums later, you worked with Todd Rundgren.
Yes.
What was it like working with Todd?
It was great. He is a very easy guy to work with. He's a musical genius, in my opinion. He was the first producer that really made this band sound like we sounded on stage, like we wanted to sound, you know, big enough all over. And I think that Todd, you know, gave us something that we didn't have with Terry Knight. And of course we didn't have with our self-produced album, the Phoenix album, that it was actually produced by Don and Craig Frost and Mel. I didn't have anything to do with the mix on anything. I didn't want anything to do. I could just see all of these too many chefs with their spoon in the bucket, you know. And it came out the way it came out. Whatever. Todd, man, when he stepped up, it was like, okay, all right, we got us a producer, somebody that can make us sound like we do on stage and put it on a record.
Mm-hmm. That's always such a fine line, yeah, from my perspective.
Yeah.
There's a lot of artists where who've got incredible live shows. It's very hard to capture that on record. Yeah, the inverse being bands who are very studio driven, a lot of layers, you know, a lot of effects, what have you. That's just as difficult to create live. Exactly. So when you can strike that balance of where you sound the same, yeah, in both mediums, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, I agree 100%, brother.
Yeah. Now, songwriting, I always refer to it as the art and magic of songwriting. Yeah. Because you
good. I like
that. Well, thank you. Because you never know where that inspiration is going to come from.
Right.
Know? And a lot of songwriters have spoken about divine intervention when it comes to a song. What's your experience where that's come into play for you?
Well, divine intervention occurred on I'm your captain closer to home, because when I was saying my prayers, now I lay me down to sleep. You know, my mother taught us 6 kids to pray. I still pray every night. I pray during the day. I pray all the time, man. I am in touch with God. God is love, and it's all I want for the rest of my life. I'm coming out of 75, man. So I'm saying mine, now I lay me down to sleep, and I put, after I bless every cousin, every uncle, aunt, grandpa, I mean, you know, all of everybody in the family and my friends. I put a little PS on there, and I said, God, would you please give me a song that would reach and touch the hearts of those you want to get to? I got up at like 3:30 in the morning. I just rolled over. I keep a steno pad next to my bed with a ink pen, and I grabbed that pen and I just start writing. I'm not awake. I'm kind of in a groggy state of consciousness where I'm totally like not awake, but I'm halfway between heaven and earth, somewhere out there floating around. And I start writing these words. Everybody listen to me and return me my ship. I'm your captain. I'm your captain, though I'm feeling mighty sick. You know, and I know, and I'm thinking to myself, this is some pretty far out stuff, you know, in the back of my mind. I never let that kind of come to the front. I just thought to myself, wow, this is some wild stuff here. And it wasn't like I was recalling my prayer and going, oh man, thanks God, this is it. Because I write stuff all the time. I roll over and grab the paper and write stuff down when it's on my mind, but not a lot of it turns into music. But this night, and when I got done, it exhausted me, because I knew better than to go back to the beginning of the song and read what I had already written. I had to stay in that frame of mind, in that state of being in present moment, and finish this song, get it all out. And dude, when I got it all out, I was exhausted. I put the pen back, I put the steno pad back down on the nightstand, and I just roll back and I grab the sheet and throw it over my body. And I'm like, gone like a turkey through the corn a day before Thanksgiving. Gone. And when I got up in the morning, I went out and grabbed I had George Washburn, US made acoustic guitar. And I start playing, you know, the opening lick to the song. And I went, oh man, that's kind of cool. And then I grabbed this chord inversion of the C chord and I was going for the G, but I was a little bit short, and it hit on the C, but I kept my fingers down to make on that 3rd fret to make the G chord, and I hit that C, and it was like, whoa, it's got a chime to it. And as I'm looking at it, I'm going, whoa, I got to remember this. And I'm looking at my fingers, you know, studying that. Oh, I got to remember this position because I love the sound of this chord. And as I'm looking at that, my mind went, the words, grab the words. So I went, oh, the words. I went and grabbed the words, put them on the kitchen table alongside my coffee. I hit the red button on my Sony cassette recorder and started playing. Everybody listen to me. You know, it just started coming, and I'm playing and I'm loving it. And when you get to the bridge, am I in my cabin dreaming, or are you really scheming? I'm thinking, oh man, this is good. You know, that's where it felt to me. And so when I took it to rehearsal that day, we worked on it, and it turned into this real long song, because when I was in Cleveland, Ohio. We were doing the Upbeat show, and David Spiro, a good friend of mine, his dad owned the station, and Herman, he always had us, come in and play. And when he had nice, popular, real popular, famous people on there. He had Otis Redding on that day and Mitch Ryder, and he had James Brown on that day. And I'm playing this song, David is going, well, what is that? I said, it's a song called I'm Your Captain. It's going to be on the next album. And Tommy Baker from the Upbeat band, he's a band leader, came over and he says, Mark, he says, when you get to that part of that song, he says, I'm hearing it, man. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm hearing violins. I'm hearing a French horn in there. I'm hearing the oboe in there. I'm hearing, and he starts, and he's a musical genius. That guy, man, wow. Music just poured out of him. And he says, and just keep going and going and going and going. Give me room to stretch out. And he says, and when you think you can't do another bar of music, give me 10 more. And I was like, wow. All right, Tommy. So he wrote all of that orchestration for it. It was during the Vietnam War, and it was an anthem for our veterans. And it gave them the hope of coming home. So many have told me, and they voted, the Vietnam Veterans of America voted my song their number one song of all the music they heard over there. So I played it for them, a free show with my band, the 25th anniversary of the wall, the monument for Vietnam veterans that lost their lives. And we had a memory. We had a time. We had some crying. I'm telling you, there was not a dry eye in that audience when the band got to I'm Your Captain. It was like, I was trying to sing with a softball right here, brother. It was emotionally overwhelming. But there isn't a more rewarding thing that you could do with your life, I don't believe. And I feel blessed among men.
Yeah. Well, I know you do a lot of work for veterans organizations and such.
Yes.
How did you come to get involved in such a worthy cause?
Well, my dad was a tank driver in World War II. He was in the 7th Armored Division. And my mother was the first woman in the United States to weld on Sherman tanks that were made at Fisher Body in Flint, Michigan. And with that kind of a rich history, I listened to, I respected my dad. He died when I was 9 years old, but I respected him the utmost. He never talked about the wars or any of the battles that he was in, but he told my Uncle Woody when they were pheasant hunting and I was trailing along behind, he says, if you want to know where all the trouble in this world comes from, Woody, trace that money trail to the top. I never forget that, Brother Michael.
I always tell my son, if there's something going on, ask yourself 2 questions. Who's making money? Who's gaining power? There you will find the answer. Word. Well, I'll tell you what, to step back again, we're talking about I'm Your Captain. Let's talk about some of the other big hits. How about Bad Time?
Bad Time. Well, Bad Time, Jimmy Ienner was the producer for Bad Time. And he was really known for doing vocals, albums that had vocals. like the Raspberries, all the way, that was a great song. And he had a knack for getting that vocal out front, some kind of wonderful. The vocals were right there, and working with him in the studio was great. Every time he would smile, the whole room, everybody's going, he had to smile. He had the most teeth in the world in that mouth, and he was just smiling. Love that guy. What a great sensitive heart he has, and it came out in the mix. He was a great producer for that, I'm telling you. And the fact that it came from a life experience, writing the song was during the time of my first marriage, coming to an end. And I was sitting there playing piano in the room between the living room and the kitchen, and I was hearing words like somebody's going to put a 12-inch iron skillet through my forehead, and I said, "Oh man, this is a bad time to be."
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, as we're going through the hits, how about We're an American Band?
American Band. Lynn Goldsmith came to the band, and she said, "Why don't you guys write a song about who you are? You're an American band." And so Brewer came the next day to rehearsal, and he had written the words to We're an American Band. And he played this little 2-note chord progression. And I was hearing it, the way I played it as he's playing. I said, "Well, what about this? And I said, it's got to start with a drum lick. It needs to start with a drum lick, and I can hear a cowbell in it." He says, "I don't have a cowbell." I said, "Dude, you know how many hit songs have cowbells in them?" I said, this could be a monster hit. Trust me, it needs the cowbell. "I'll pick one up," he says. I said, "No, pick 6 of them up, and we'll pick the one that matches, the chord that we're playing to, and make it fit in that song the best." So I came up with that drum lick on the intro. I could hear that in my head, and Don, being the competent drummer that he is, picked it up and finally mastered it and put that cowbell in there just right, with just the right amount of duct tape on it to dampen it. And I could hear the harmonies before they were even singing. I knew that I was going to be stepping, making a transition harmony into the next chord, and I could hear that in my head, man. It was good. It was great to get that down. And Rundgren, he says, "We got to do the vocals at Criteria in Miami Beach, because they say there's something about cutting music at sea level." So in the meantime, I had a stud colt that I was putting in my trailer, and I was going through the walkout on the front, and he was trying to follow me out, and I pushed back on him, and a friend of mine came in. Leona snapped the safety chain behind that horse, thinking she was doing me a favor. And I'm trying to back the horse up, and when his ass hit the safety chain, he flicks like this and breaks my nose. Smashes my nose. I could close my left eye, and there was my nose. I could close my right eye and I couldn't see my nose. It's like, where is it? It was over here. And I sang We're an American. I sang all the songs on that album with that broken nose, brother.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And then I got back and Dr. Metelsky re-broke it for me and put it back where it belonged.
Good news, I can fix it. The bad news is I got to break it again.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, my.
I'll tell you, earlier you mentioned Little Eva and Loco-Motion. How'd you come to do your version of that?
I had gone home for lunch. The studio was across the street from my farm. I had 190 acres in Parshallville. I had 110 on one side of the road and 80 acres on the other side where the studio was. And I had gone home for lunch and I was coming back. It was a sunny day. I took my shirt off and I'm walking down there. The sun's hitting me and the driveway kind of goes like this. So you can't, just look back to the studio. It's kind of snakes back through there. And I could hear the guys out in the parking lot and they were, having a smoke, whatever. So I start singing, everybody's doing a brand new dance now. And then them guys up that were out having their smoke, they're going, come on, baby, do the Loco-Motion, and Todd Rundgren comes walking out because I kept singing it and they kept singing the backgrounds back to me. And he comes walking out. He says, what is that? I said, what is it? That's Little Eva. That's the Loco-Motion. He says, well, get your ass in here because we're going to record the Loco-Motion. And that's how quick it was. It was like, okay, everybody inside. And I figured out the chords to it real fast because I knew the song. I just had never played it before. But we rocked it because Todd came out in the studio with us. He had fun. He grabbed the tape head on my Echoplex while I was playing the solo, and he's going, and the guitar's going, he just, oh my God. It was like the guitar was eating itself. Caught on tape.
Well, I'll tell you, we talked about Atlanta in '69. Yep. 2 years later, Shea Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember about that show?
Well, I remember that flying over the stadium in a helicopter. We took off from the East River from a heliport over there, flew over the stadium, and that whole thing was just bouncing. I mean, easy to see. You didn't have to go, is that thing moving a little bit? It was doing this, bouncing. Humble Pie was rocking some asses right there in New York City. And when we got to the parking lot where the limo was supposed to meet us, no limo. But the guy that was riding with us, Bennett, and it wasn't Tony Bennett, but Pete Bennett, that's who it was, Pete Bennett, ran down to the phone booth. This is long before cell phones. Made a phone call, and I swear to you, 2 or 3 minutes, we had cop cars coming into the parking lot. They swooped us up, take us over to the stadium. We get out of the cop cars, get in the limo, and drive into the stadium. The limo was sitting there. He had already got back there. He went to some other parking lot. It wasn't the one we landed in. But then when we got out of the limo, the audience went nuts. The New York City fans are some serious rockers, some of the most serious rockers on this planet. New York City folk. Lord have mercy. And all the people that were there were not all from New York City, but I'm going to tell you something. New York City has an influence on your attitude. And when we were playing, man, the people were singing back. When we're doing I'm Your Captain, they were singing louder than the PA. Dude, I mean, it's a half circle, right? 55,000 people singing. And the focal point of that half circle was second base, right where the stage was set up. And I'm sitting there like pinch me. Is this real? The goosebumps. I got them right here. Look at that, man. That's every time I talk about it, I get them. That's going to last me, hopefully, the rest of my life.
Tell me this. Did you get goosebumps when you learned that you guys were Homer Simpson's favorite band?
Dude, I was on stage. We were fixing to go on at Pine Knob up in Michigan, north of Detroit. And I never watched TV. I didn't know about Homer Simpson, except for everybody loved him. And then they ran this clip. I didn't know they were going to run a clip. Nobody in the band knew they were going to run this clip, but we're standing back there waiting to go on. We look up, and we're looking at it from the back of the screen, but we're seeing Homer Simpson talking to the kids and saying the shirtless lyrics. And I'm going, oh my God, he said my name. You know? That was so great. And then to walk out after that kind of introduction, brother, that was fantastic. And I appreciate the writers of The Simpsons, you know, for putting us in there like that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, earlier you mentioned about saying your prayers every night. Tell us about your gospel records.
Gospel records, we call it God rock. It's really rock and roll with a Jesus message. And when I was writing a lot of that music, I was in the church being religiousized, and I didn't get the gospel part of it until I left the church, and I really got it when I died back in 2012 and had my pacemaker put in. But for years before that, I kept telling Lisa, my wife, that we've been married 45 years. She's my best friend. She's my sidekick. And, she's my fishing buddy. She's my everything. And I told her, I say, the trouble with all of mankind is debt, D-E-B-T, debt consciousness. And it's like she going, whoa, like what are you talking about? I said, debt, not just financial debt, but that's included for sure. That's a big one. But the debt of unfulfilled expectations of other people upon you. If you are expected to do something, you don't perform what is expected, then they put you on the shit list. And then, especially if it's somebody in the family calling, the phone calls go, hey, why did you do? And you got all these people like ganging up on you. Go, wait a minute. How did you hear about what? And that it moves you out of your place of comfort, gets you in this compromised position, and that debt. It's some of it's caused by jealousy, some of it's caused by just plain hatred, and being mean. Somebody that's been hurt. That's the only thing they know to do is to hurt somebody else so it'll make them feel better. They think that's how crazy this is. But that's all part of the debt consciousness, and even the debt of regret. If you hold something against yourself, you go, man, I really shouldn't have done it. Oh man, I wish I wouldn't have. Oh my God, I wish. You got to let yourself off the hook. I'm not kidding you. That is the plague of mankind. Debt consciousness. We have to set ourselves free. We have the power to set ourselves free. Other men want to enslave us. They want us to play according to their messed up, insaniac rules, where he who has most gold rules. That's the golden rule in their case. And that doesn't work for me. If I didn't elect him, I don't respect him. Flat.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a pretty good note to wrap this one up on, Mark. I don't know how you're going to top that.
I hear you, brother.
Well, tell me this. What do you have going on now? You out on the road? You got some dates coming up?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, June 29th, we're at CD and Me. It's just outside of Chicago, Illinois. And we're going over to Wisconsin playing some music, down to New York, down to Florida playing some music. It's all at markfarner.com. If anybody wants to check that out, we'd love to see you come out to the shows, because we do rock. We rock hard, and we encourage people to dance, especially the guys, because it seems like guys don't like to get out there and be embarrassed by trying to dance. They think they're going to be embarrassed because they think maybe they're a klutz or something. But you know something, guys? You don't know until you go. And if you get out there with them hoochie mamas that are on that dance floor, and if you can't get moved by that, go over there and stick a toothpick in your mouth and just chew it for a while, because that's I really believe that we need to dance, and that's part of our freedom. Let that come to you. Let yourself rock and roll. Let yourself sweat and have a great time. We deserve it. We really deserve it. So check it out at markfarner.com. If we're near you, come on, see us.
All right. Well, we've had your website scrolling across the screen throughout the show, so folks can go there and get all the info where they can catch you, as well as all the music and everything else that you've got posted there. So
thank you, brother Michael. Appreciate it so much.
Not a problem. So on that note, Mark, thanks for taking the time to join us. Everybody, thanks for watching. Have a good night.
This has been Music Night at the Majestic with Michael Boswell. If you enjoyed this edition of Music Night at the Majestic, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and at musicnight.net. Music Night at the Majestic is a copyright production of Starliner Media. Any use of the accounts and descriptions of this program, its audio or visual content, without the express written consent of Starliner Media is prohibited. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you next time for Music Night at the Majestic. This is your announcer speaking. Starliner Media.